Today's objective is today we'll learn how to revise my work using a strategy called Empathy Lead the Way. This week in writing, we've been working on our play reviews. So wherever we are in our writing, and we know that that's normal because we don't all write at the same pace and at the same rate every single day. So some of you might have an introduction and your first subtopic paragraph written. Some of you, on the other hand, might have all 5 paragraphs written. Well, it doesn't matter how many paragraphs you have so far because we are all able to practice today's strategy, Empathy Lead the Way. We are going to be working in stages 4 and 5 of the writing process. So remember that stage 4 is called the revision stage, and that's where you make changes to improve your writing. That's exactly the point of Empathy Lead the Way. Stage 5 is where you edit. That means that you proofread and you correct for mistakes. Now, before we get started with today's strategy, use empathy to lead the way, let's review the structure of a review. A review starts with a beginning, which we would call an introduction. In your introduction, all you do is you tell your reader what your opinion is. We would also call an opinion your claim. For example, and as you all already know, I am reviewing Sean's play, and I believe that everyone should watch Sean's play. Now, in the middle, that's where you write your subtopic paragraphs. And in the case of writing reviews, your subtopics are just the reasons that you have for liking something. So in this particular case, you're going to give 3 different reasons for why you like a friend's play. For example, yesterday you read my first subtopic for my play review for Sean's play, and I shared that I believe that Sean's play was super creative, and one way that it was super creative was because of the puppets that he decided to use. In a moment, you're also going to see my second subtopic paragraph, which is all about how Sean's play is very entertaining. But I can't stop there because I still have one more subtopic paragraph to write, which I'm going to share with you tomorrow. Then your ending is also called a conclusion. And in your conclusion, that's when you give your reader a next step. So all of us are going to give the same next step. Our next step is just going to be a recommendation to watch this play. In order to use our strategy today called Empathy Lead the Way, you need to follow these 4 simple steps. So step 1 is to reread your paragraph pretending you're the reader. Step 2 is to ask yourself, what questions do I have for the writer? Then you're going to record those questions directly onto your writing. Step 3 is to revise your work by answering those questions. And the final step is to edit your sentences. So make sure that if you added anything new and you need a period or a comma or a capital letter, you add those things in. Before I model how to use this strategy, Empathy Lead the Way, I'm simply going to read you my subtopic 2 paragraph. Here it is. Another reason is because it was very entertaining. For example, he used lots of expressive voices for all of his characters. Each person we met had his or her own voice that matched the character. It was also very entertaining because he used lots of movement. For example, when a character was talking, he moved that puppet around instead of just holding it in place. This helped guide his audience members' attention to that specific character. Overall, he did a great job making it entertaining for us to watch. So now I'm ready to go ahead and model Empathy Lead the Way. So on the top right-hand corner, I have a post-it that says Empathy Lead the Way. That's the strategy we're practicing today. And then yesterday, we talked about the strategy to and or not to and our reminder phrase was cut or keep. So remember that we had to reread our work and think about whether we needed to keep all of our ands or could we cut some of them to make our writing a little bit clearer. So I have that on a small post-it here, just so I can keep that strategy in my mind if I need to use it today. But today we're focusing on empathy, lead the way. So I'm going to start by rereading my paragraph, pretending like I am my reader. And as I'm doing that, I'm asking myself, what questions do I have for the writer? And as I come up with those questions, I'm going to record those questions directly into my writing so that I can go back and answer them, and that will help me revise my work. So let's go ahead and get started. By the way, if you have done your work on Google Docs, then you'll be able to go through and use empathy, lead the way, the same way that I am modeling it today. If you did it on paper, then you'll just get a revision pen and you'll write your questions directly onto your paper. Okay? Let's get started. Another reason is because it was very entertaining. Already I have so many questions as a reader. Another reason, what, is because it was very entertaining. What was very entertaining? So here, another reason, what? That I'm going to add a comment here. So I click this little plus sign and it says add comment. I'm going to go ahead, click that, and it highlights the word reason because my comment goes with that part of my paragraph. Another reason, what? I add comment by clicking add. Another reason is because it was very entertaining. Oh boy, another comment. What is it? What is it talking about? And then I hit comment and it adds it there. For example, he used lots of expressive voices for all of his characters. Okay, so who is he? Who am I talking about? I hit comment to add it there, and you can see it's just storing all of my notes and my questions right here. Each person we met had his or her own voice that matched the character. It was also very entertaining because he used lots of movement. I think maybe this sentence will make sense once I have answered these questions, so I'm going to leave it for now. For example, when a character was talking, he moved that puppet around instead of just holding, I need to add in the word it, in place. This helped guide his audience members' attention to that specific character. You might be wondering why I have my apostrophe after the S. Usually it comes before the S. But in this case, I'm talking about more than one member. So if I'm talking about a plural word, members, more than one, then my apostrophe goes at the end. Overall, he did a great job making it entertaining for us to watch. Okay, so I came up with 3 questions, and I'm going to answer them now. So I'm on step 4. So another reason is because it was very entertaining. Another reason, what? Oh, I know. Another reason I strongly recommend watching Sean's play is because it was very entertaining. So my next question was, what is it? What is it talking about? So since I fixed this part, now the word it is very clear. I'm talking about the play. So it is referring to the play. For example, he used lots of expressive voices for all of his characters. Again, now that I have named Sean in the first sentence, I know exactly who he is. But now I'm going to go back and I'm going to use cut or keep to and or not to and. But instead of looking for the word and, I'm actually just going to look for any word that I think I used way too much. I call that the it monster. But in this case, it might be the he monster. So I'm going to read and look for all of my he's. For example, he used a lot of expressive voices. I'm going to highlight in purple today. For all of his characters, each person we met had his or her own voice that matched the character. It was also very entertaining because he... Oh, I did a different color. I'm going to go back and change it. Oh, I think it's mixing colors there. He used lots of movement. For example, when a character was talking, he moved that puppet around instead of just holding it in place. This helped guide his audience members' attention to that specific character. Overall, he did a great job making it entertaining for us to watch. Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to replace some of these he's with Sean's name. So I'm reading it all together because I don't read these sentences individually in isolation. I read them as a whole because they're part of my whole paragraph. So another reason I strongly recommend watching Sean's plays because it was very entertaining. For example, he used lots of expressive voices for all of his characters. That sounds fine. Each person we met had his or her own voice that matched the character. It was also very interesting because he used lots of movement. I'm going to change this he to Sean because I haven't said Sean's name in a long time. If I haven't said my noun's name, the specific name of my noun, in a long time, then I want to replace some of these pronouns. Okay. And I don't want it to be crossed out. So it was also very entertaining because Sean used lots of movement. For example, when a character was talking, he moved that puppet around instead of just holding it in place. This helped guide his audience members' attention to that specific character. Overall, Sean, I'm going to replace Sean with, or I'm going to replace he with Sean. Did a great job making it entertaining for us to watch. So I'm just going to make sure that this all makes sense now. Another reason I strongly recommend watching Sean's play is because it was very entertaining. For example, he used lots of expressive voices for all of his characters. Each person we met had his or her own voice that matched the character. It was also very entertaining because Sean used lots of movement. For example, when a character was talking, he moved that puppet around instead of just holding it in place. This helped guide his audience members' attention to that specific character. Overall, Sean did a great job making it entertaining for us to watch. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to replace it with the word or the words actually, his play. I'm going to reread that sentence to make sure it makes sense. Overall, Sean did a great job making his play entertaining for us to watch. So next, you're going to set your timer for 30 minutes, and you're going to work on your review. Now, today, that might mean that you're writing one whole paragraph, and you're also working on empathy, lead the way. So write your paragraph as you normally would, and then go back and reread and follow those steps to revise your work using empathy, lead the way. Also keep in mind, store it in your brain, to and or not to and. And remember that you might be searching for the word and, but you might also just be searching for any word that you feel like has attacked your writing. So it could be the it monster, it could be the she monster, it could be the he monster, it could be the her monster, the his monster. It could be lots of monsters, just whichever word you feel like you're saying again and again and again in your writing. And then replace those words with the actual name of whatever it is you're talking about. So for example, if you have noticed that your writing was taken over by the she monster, let's say that you were reviewing Chloe's play and you keep referring to Chloe as she, or her, you might need to go back and replace some of those she's or hers with Chloe's name, okay? Then afterwards, at the end of 30 minutes, you're going to snap a photo of your writing and you're going to post it on Seesaw for, if you're Mrs. Cadenasso's class, Mrs. Cadenasso to see, or if you're in my class, for me to see. And then I'll give you some feedback, or Mrs. Cadenasso will give you some feedback. Don't forget that your writing is due this Friday, and also try to write an entire paragraph today to keep you on track. So far, today is Wednesday, you should have at least 3 paragraphs written. So your introduction, subtopic 1, and today's subtopic 2. Tomorrow you'll be able to work on subtopic 3, and then the next day you can work on your conclusion. If you feel like working ahead, there is no problem in working ahead. Good luck!